From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
And hello to you. Welcome to the Badass Counseling Show. This is a live taping of a lightning round of the Badass Counseling Show. As you likely know, our lightning round episodes, our Q&As, drop on Sundays, but are available any day of the week. And our counseling episodes drop on Thursdays. Whether you are checking in from Newcastle, Australia, or from Budapest, or perhaps from the UK, maybe you're checking in from Wingham, Ontario, or some other place north, south, east, or west. It's great to have you here. In these episodes, we are live across many platforms, from Instagram to Facebook to TikTok and YouTube, and we're taking questions rapid fire. I'm joined in studio by my team. I've got KC, who is sort of the master planner, the creative force behind this entire show. She is over in the booth, sort of the Overwatch, and I have Rob the Rocket sitting next to me. He is indisputably the brains of this operation. Rob, what's the good word, my man?
Just here to help, and glad to do so.
And what a helper you are. What's the latest and greatest in your life, man?
Well, the earworm, since you know I only see my girlfriend 2 or 3 days a week, the earworm is Brand New Key by Melanie, in which she sings, "I'm okay alone, but you've got something I need."
Oh, wow. Who sings that?
Melanie.
What?
1970, I think.
I was going to say, I don't recognize the artist or the song.
I got a brand new pair of roller skates.
Oh,
you got a brand new key.
Key, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that song. And that's pitched so high.
What do you think they're talking about, really?
Oh, I didn't think of it till you said it right now. Of course, back in 1970, I was like 3. So I just thought it meant roller skates. I thought it was a kid's song.
Well, you were wrong then, weren't you?
Yeah, I guess you have just disabused me of that notion. All right, we are taking questions live, so why don't we go ahead and jump in. In our warm-up to the show, I promised William Cicito over on Instagram that I would take his question first. Hey, can you talk about the difference between grief and shame? Yes, grief and shame are very distinct feelings. Both are legitimate, both have a place. Grief is sadness over some sort of loss. Grief is sadness over something that happened in the past that you maybe wish hadn't happened, but is done. And it usually comes with loss, a death, a divorce, a moving, losing someone from your life. And it's sadness. Shame is I have done something bad. Now, sometimes we get shame heaped onto us when we haven't done something bad, but someone has made us feel like we have done something bad. But grief does not come with any sort of guilt. Grief is usually, it comes with loss. Now, you may have grief because I did something bad and I feel bad for it, and I feel sad because I did it. But grief in and of itself does not have a I'm bad component to it. Grief in its purest form does not have I am bad. That may get added to something else that says I'm bad, but it does not have its own. All right, next question. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's a good one. This is Spencer Spots over on Facebook asking the question, what sort of behavioral cues would you say most commonly indicate a partner is growing resentment toward you from what I can only assume is from uncommunicated needs? I can't help with what I don't know. All right, there are actually a couple things in there, so I'm going to answer the first question first. What sort of behavioral cues would you say most commonly indicate a partner is growing resentment toward you? Okay? You know what? Honestly, if you and I were just having a beer or just walking in the park or whatever, I would ask you this question. Well, why don't you just tell me what behavioral cues you're seeing? Because I'm betting you don't even need me to tell you what I would see. The mere fact that you are even asking that question says that you are already sensing growing resentment in your partner, right? Otherwise, why the fuck would you even ask that question? No, you already sense resentment, don't you? So my question to you would be, what are you seeing, right? Right, you're already sensing it. And you know what the beauty of the human animal is? I talk about this in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, that our body picks up on cues that our brain doesn't even compute yet. When I was writing my book, it was a book, I was writing that one probably 15 years ago. And I was living in Berkeley, California, and I would write every morning at 5 a.m. at my Starbucks right near the university there. And there was a gal there, and she was the barista, and she and I would talk every morning. And she asked one morning, Sven, what are you working on today? What chapter are you working on today? And I said, cues that we give and how we sense when something is off with someone that we love or care about or are close to. She said, Sven, that is so fucking interesting. She said, you want to know why? I said, why? She says, because I have a cue that I give unintentionally. But do you want to know what it is, Sven? I said, yeah, what is it? She said, I only wear mascara when I'm trying to pick up a guy. So if I'm ever with the guy and I'm going out the door and I have mascara on and he says something seems different and I have mascara on, I'm likely going to be cheating on him. But he won't know what it is. He may not be able to see it because most guys aren't tuned to seeing mascara, but he is sensing something is off. And what he is sensing is a physical cue manifesting an emotional cue. So in your case, what sort of behavioral cues would you say most commonly indicate a partner is growing resentment towards you? I think you already know what the behavioral cues are, but I'll give you some. Quiet, physical distance. Or another one is they don't want to look at you. They don't like to look at. I don't like to look at people that I'm angry at or that I have resentment, and I have to choke down that resentment. The other thing is forced smiles, non-tooth smiles, or curled in lips. Another one is they just don't want to spend time around you. Short answers, easily excited to anger, easily pissed off, don't want to touch you, definitely don't want to have sex with you. Okay? Those are just some of the most simple ones, and I'm willing to bet you've seen some of those. You said, from what I can only assume is uncommunicated needs. So you're saying they haven't communicated your needs. You assume it's because they haven't communicated their needs. What's fascinating about that, Spencer, and that may very well be true, but I got to challenge you on this. And remember, one of the things I talk about in all of my work is I must and this is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, sort of watered down and applied across sort of interpersonal communications, all right, and human relationships. And it's simply this: I must constantly remind myself I am part of the problem I am trying to solve. So if you're going to have some integrity in your relationship, you got to ask yourself the question, yet what is it I might be doing? In addition to, yes, they have a responsibility to communicate their needs, and then I can help meet those needs. But might there also be things that you are doing or not doing that you need to be doing? How can you go next level? That's a challenge to you. Now, maybe you're great already. I don't doubt that, okay? But you can always challenge yourself. How can I be doing better in this relationship? All right, next question. That was a great question, by the way, Spencer. Thank you for that question. I really like that one. All right. Kelly Living. All right, here we go, Kelly Living. You know what's funny about that? All the years I lived in California, probably off and on for 15, 20 years, I never said Kelly. I always felt like people who lived in California never said Kelly. It's always people who don't live in California who say Kelly. But
people in San Francisco never call it Frisco either.
Oh, God, no. No. Anyway, so I'm just sort of busting your balls here, Kelly Living. All right, here we go. Girlfriend has 13 and 15-year-old kids with grandma next door. Oh, my. I think we could take weekend trip sans the kids. I think you definitely could. The real question is this, Kelly Living. Have you brought it up? And I'm willing to bet that you have. A couple of questions would be, one, how long have you guys been seeing each other? Because if it's less than, 3 months, 6 months, she may not want to. She may not be comfortable yet. How long has it been since, she started since she started dating? It may be fresh for them. And so one of the things is, and I agree with you, dude. I agree. You want to spend time alone with your love. I totally get you on that one. All right. However, the bottom line is you win the day sometimes by slow walking things. Now, if it's been a year or that long and you haven't been alone together, yeah, that's a fucking problem. It is. Or even 9 months. It's like, come on, let's get some time alone. But then you got to begin to dig down into what is the problem. Is it that she doesn't want to be with the kids, or the kids can't be alone with her? If grandma's next door, clearly they have someone who can take care of them. But you need to communicate your needs and your wants. It's really a want at this point, maybe a need as well. But you need to be open to just having conversation about this. Okay? Because this may be the first time she's done this. I don't know more details than that. But you've got to talk it out and be patient. And the truth is, if she's worth it, then it's worth being patient over. All right? But it's frustrating. I totally hear you on that, man. It's fucking frustrating. But talk it out and listen. But it's also, hey, I have a need to be alone with you too. And you need to understand your needs are legitimate. So you have just as right to be at the table and have your needs and wants heard and met. And she needs to understand that as well. So it's you being patient with her, yet also insisting that she understand that you're important as well. It's both. It's not just you and it's not just her. All right? But it's being understanding that she does have teenagers. But, that's just part of sorting out a relationship where kids are involved. Vistiana Fit says, what is the name of your book? Well, actually, there are a few of them. The most recent one that just came out is on infidelity. The title is Cheating Sucks. This book has never been written by anyone ever before. I'm the only person who has had a 30-year counseling practice, who was cheated on in 2 long-term adult relationships. I cheated on my first wife as well back in my 20s. And I was the co-cheater who was someone was cheating with while they were cheating on their spouse. And so I've seen it I've experienced it all 3 ways on the cheating triangle, and I have 30 years of counseling experience. That's my book, Cheating Sucks. And it takes a completely upside down version of cheating and healing from cheating. My best-selling book is There's a Hole in My Love Cup. And all of my books are available at badasscounseling.com. This one will change your life. Those 2 books, Cheating Sucks and There's a Hole in My Love Cup, will kick your ass and change your life. And then I have a few books that are 300. I have one right now, and I'm writing the sequel, 366-day daily meditational, inspirational book, Badass Wisdom. But this is not an intense healing book. This is sort of after you've done There's a Hole in My Love Cup and Cheating Sucks. All right, next question. Here we go. Great questions coming in, you guys. Hey, Rob. Lena says, hi, Sven. It's Lena from YouTube here. Thought I'd come over and check it out here. It's great to have you here, Lena. Well, last time she had a question over on YouTube. Now we get her over here.
All right. Moving target's hard to hit, but go ahead.
All right. Here we go. This one's actually from Crazy on Instagram. Crazy says, does it affect kids negatively more if the mom stays or leaves an alcoholic father, statistically? I'll be very honest with you. All right. This is a controversial position that goes back and forth. And you ask the question statistically, but the question is, what statistics are you looking at? If you're just looking at, let's say, performance in school or amount of money they're going to make, it's going to say, oh, stay together. But I am rabid. You are checking in on Instagram. All right. One of the videos that I have pinned there on Instagram, if you go to my homepage, it's one of the top 3 that is pinned. I'm outside, and I believe it's the one where I'm in a flannel over jacket. It's sort of winterish outside, or fall, something like that. Watch that one. I'm a rabid believer that if there is not love between the parents, I don't care if the parents are even cordial with each other, if there is not love between the parents, it is better to divorce sooner than later. It is better to divorce when the children are young than to wait until they are 18 or 20 or 21. Why? 1, because your children, it doesn't matter what's coming out of your mouth, you are modeling for your children what love is. I have had so many clients over 30 years of counseling. I have had so many clients who have gotten into their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they have replicated the relationship that they grew up with in their childhood home. That means your children will replicate your relationship or some derivative of your relationship, of an unloving relationship. And they will replicate that, and as a result, they will never know what love is, and they'll never know why. Furthermore, by waiting until they are 18 or until they are 20, you are normalizing this version of what love is. And so when you do actually break it to them at 18 or at 20, rather than being 6 or 8 when they're going to cry, and it makes it so much easier when they're 18 because they don't cry and they don't put up as big a fit. They're like, oh, I can take it. So that makes it easier on you. But them not dealing with those feelings is them stuffing it down. Just because they can put on a face and not cry, you think they're good? No, they're worse. Because they're stuffing those feelings down. That child that is acting out and having temper tantrums at 6 or 8 or 12 and is crying and is sobbing and is raging, that's healthy. The child is trying to get those feelings out, and they don't have language for it. But that 18-year-old or that 20-year-old, what are they likely to do, especially if they are a male? I got it. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. And guess what? Rather than being at home and in school and at home with their parents and aunties and uncles, surrounded by a company of people who love them and can guide them, if you tell them at 18 or at 20 when they're off at college or they've gone off to their first job or they're off in the military, where they are surrounded by what? Their knucklehead friends who don't know shit from shinola, and they're not getting support, and they're not getting good counsel. And so you are at the very point in their life when they should be taking off and flying at full fucking wingspan. They are being weighed down by the single most pivotal moment of their life, that the two people they love the very most in life are now divorcing. No, do not wait until later. I had a client, and this happened so many times. There's always this one that I think about. She was 27. She said, she came to me when she was like 31. She was telling me, Sven, oh yeah, my parents told me they were divorcing 6 months before my wedding. My wedding was the fucking most dreadful day of my life. 6 months later, I was still grieving that fucking divorce. They had the brass balls to divorce 6 months before my fucking wedding. You think waiting is going to be easier on your kids? No, it's fucking hard. It'll be easier for you, harder for them. But then you say, does it affect kids negatively more if the mom stays or leaves an alcoholic father? An alcoholic father, I would want to know, what is the effect of your husband when he is alcoholic around your kids or not around your kids, or he's never around and so forth? No, that's not healthy for a child to grow up in. The best thing that can happen is for mom to become as healthy as she possibly can. If you've got a toxic element in a child's life, remove the children from that element. You want to know something very interesting? One of the things that I have asked so many clients over the decades is, if you had the choice, if you could go back and you could whisper in your mother's ear, in this case, to stay in an abusive situation or an alcoholic situation or an unloving situation, or get you out such that at least 50% of the time that you're with mom, or the 50% that you're with your sane father, or whichever it is, that 50% of the time you had peace, which would you choose? At least 90% of the time, the client says, I would want 50% of the time to have that fucking peace. 50% of the time to feel safe and not feel afraid in my own home. All right, next question. Tamers154 on TikTok says, can you touch on financial abuse? What is it, how it affects us, and how to overcome it? Financial abuse comes in many forms. I had a friend once who had actually cheated on her husband, and she had done it in response, in great anger at her husband, because her husband, and I am in no way justifying cheating, she had a marital infidelity, sexual and emotional infidelity on her husband. And she said, I was just so angry at him that I said, fuck you, because 2 years prior, he had committed financial abuse against her. And I said, what did he do? She was telling me, she said, I make more money than my husband, to the tune of about $50,000 more. And he's in investments, and he invested in our money, and he took a very big loss, and he chased good money after bad. And he lost even more, and he fundamentally wiped out about $2 million of our money, most of which, or the greater portion of which, probably 65% of which was mine. And I've been so angry for years, and I never went to fucking therapy, and so I just wanted to fucking hurt him. Needless to say, the relationship didn't last more than about 3 years after she cheated on him. So can you touch on financial abuse? Financial abuse is anytime someone is engaging, and this is a loose definition, all right? But anytime someone is engaging in the undermining of another person's or their shared financial position, such that it hurts the other person, and very often, in fact, most of the time, it's being done in secret. Something is being done in secret. And that's how you know, by the way, if something is cheating, or if something is abuse, or if something is not okay, that there's a secrecy element to it, or there's a domination element to it. Okay? And how it affects us, it undermines. Financial abuse is no different in a way from betrayal, sexual, emotional cheating, insofar as it undermines trust. It undermines my ability to trust you. It undermines, to some degree, my desire to even trust you. How do you overcome it? You overcome it the same way you overcome anything else. You begin to go inside and you begin to scoop out, to flush out all of the pain, all of the rage, all of the sadness, all of the anger, all of the frustration, all the feelings of betrayal. That doesn't mean you'll ever be able to have a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a family relationship, whether it's a love relationship. It doesn't mean you'll ever be able to reestablish that relationship. However, it does mean you will be able to get all of that out, because if we don't get out the pain, the suffering, the rage, the hardship, from when someone has hurt us, whether it's financial betrayal or betrayal or let down, or somebody didn't protect us, whatever it is, if we don't get that out, that even if our relationship doesn't continue, I'm still carrying that pain around. That means it's affecting my relationships. So for instance, if someone has cheated on me in a past relationship, let's say Susie Q has cheated on me in a past relationship, now I'm going into a relationship with Jenny, and I'm tentative to open up to Jenny. I'm afraid I can't trust her. Geez, I don't know if I can really trust Jenny, even though there's nothing wrong with Jenny, and Jenny hasn't done a fucking thing wrong to me. But I'm judging Jenny against Susie Q because of what Susie Q did. Well, what Susie Q did is not Jenny's problem, except it is now. But the real problem isn't Jenny. For Jenny, the real problem is me, because I don't have the fucking brass balls to go inside and heal my shit so that it's not fucking up my relationship with Jenny. And so many people carry their past shit, not just from their past love relationships, but from their childhood. I don't want to touch it. It's too scary. It's too painful. It'll overwhelm me. And so they carry it into their relationships, into their love relationships, their work relationships, and then they'll blame the other person because they don't have the integrity to heal their own shit and to own their own shit. And that's what it means to walk through life with a lighter footprint. It means to heal your own shit and not go around blaming other people because you don't have the brass balls to heal your own shit. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Come right back. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. Well, you've heard the podcast. You've listened to other people's issues. Maybe you've studied hundreds of Sven's TikTok videos. Time to stop lurking, face your fears, and focus directly on the one person in your life who can benefit the most from Sven's experience and insight. Now, that would be you. Just go to badasscounseling.com and order Sven's book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Or check out his many video courses. Sven found a way to help himself out of a 12 years depression. It worked for him, and it can work for you too. Check out badasscounseling.com today.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform, and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
All right, we are back with the Badass Counseling Show. Rob, you've got a question from one of our listeners, viewers over on YouTube. Go ahead.
Right you are, Sven. Sage and Smoke asks, why does journaling feel like a form of rumination?
Because you're not going deep enough. You're not going deep enough. Rumination is basically when you're thinking about it, and where it's just tumbling. But the difference with journaling is when you're going deeper, asking yourself the question, well, why am I feeling this way? And where you're actually, and not just, rumination is, this is funny you bring this up. This is great, actually, that you brought this up. What's the name of the person?
Sage and Smoke.
Sage and Smoke. This is great. I have a young kid down in Alabama that I counsel. He's a college kid, and we were actually talking about this sort of thing. I was the one of the lead trauma counselors for an airline about 25 years ago, and I would deal with crew when they had to deal with some sort of in-flight trauma, whether it was a wind shear or a smoke-filled cabin or some sort of passenger problem. And I would meet with different crew members after the incident. And one of the things that I do when I'm meeting with crew members is I'll ask them to relay the story of what happened. Tell me the story. And they'll tell me, well, we're at 50,000 feet, and then, all of a sudden my altimeter starts to indicate blah, 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 blah. And they're telling me the whole story. Then I'll take them down to the next level. And what was going on inside of you? Once you notice the shift in the altimeter, or once you notice your rudder pedal starting to fuck around, talk to me. What were you feeling? What was the hardest part? What was the scariest part? And I'll talk them through the feelings. So now we're deeper than just the story. And I'll talk them through all the feelings. I'll ask all sorts of questions, trying to get them to flush out as many feelings as possible without them knowing they're actually flushing out feelings. Then I'll have them bring them back up, and I'll have them tell the story of all the facts one more time. And then we're sort of out, and I'll let them go. Okay, story, bringing them down into story, then bring them down even further down into feelings, and back up into story, and then out. The difference between rumination and raw journaling, like effective journaling, is rumination is you're telling the story over and over and over and over and over again. You're never getting down into the feelings, the whys, the what was really going on inside of me, the how does it feel, like why is this so fucking painful? Furthermore, what is this trying to teach me? What can I gain from this experience? So you're not going deep enough. And because you don't go deep enough, you're not experiencing that sense of release. You're not experiencing that sense of relief, that sense of peace, but also, and so usually if someone is just ruminating, just telling the story, it's because they fear going into those feelings. Or potentially they don't know how. But you just begin by saying, and how does this feel? I push people, how does it feel? And they'll say, well, it feels like a hippopotamus is sitting on me. I said, no. I want an actual feeling word. Well, I don't know what I was thinking back then. No. I said, give me a feeling word. I force them to tell me feeling words. And then they'll say, well, I feel a bit sad and, there's some disappointment. And I guess I actually feel guilty. And then I'll say, okay, tell me why you feel sad. Tell me why you feel guilty. And I'll ask them to then expound on it. Now we're going deeper into the feelings, and what do you think that person might have been feeling? And how does that feel? And what do you most want to say to that person? And what might this experience be trying to teach you? This is called going deeper in your journaling rather than just ruminating and thinking about the story over and over and over again. So when I was talking to this young kid today, I was telling him that in his journaling, he needs to go deeper down into that stuff. He says, yeah, but Sven, I just feel like it'll overwhelm me. I said, it will overwhelm you. And it'll do it until you start getting that shit out of you. That's why we don't just bring it up. And that's what ruminating is. That's what journaling, ineffective journaling is. We're just bringing up the feelings and bringing up the memories. We're sitting in it. As some people say, oh, I sit in my feelings. Yeah, you're just sitting in it. You're not getting it the fuck out. You want to bring it up and get it out. Up and out. Up and out. Sit in it and flush it out. Sit in it and flush it out. I mean, that's if you want to fucking heal at least. All right, that was a great question though. Next question. Annette Madden says, I bought the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. I have not read it yet, but I'm looking forward to. What can I expect from reading? Is there a lot of journaling to do, or is it more reading? It's both. It's both. Some people just read the whole book through, and then they go back and they do the journaling afterwards. I recommend doing the journaling as you go. If you just read it, it's a concept book, and you're learning insights, and that'll kick your ass. But the true change comes from the interface. Once you start the journaling, now you are interfacing these insights with your own personal life. So all the journaling is optional, but you'd be nuts not to do the journaling because that's how the actual change comes. So the real question becomes, how much change do you actually want? Because it will kick your fucking ass, and it'll change your fucking life to the degree that you want to actually fucking change. I mean, just go read the 1,600 plus, reviews over on Amazon. People saying, holy shit, this book changed my fucking life. And it's because people are investing themselves and putting the work into it. But you'll do it. Just do the work. You'll do it. All right, next question. Okay. Wendy says, I'm afraid it's going to be a forever flushing. No, it's not. The deeper you go, the shorter amount of time it takes. But if you're trying to make it go fast, you'll never go deep enough. Next question. Okay. Here it is, young guy. Simpin says, I'm a young guy and my girlfriend of 1 year cheated on me. Oh, man. Dude, I'm sorry. That hurts. It especially hurts when you're young. It really does. I am so with you. It hurts at any age. So a lot of us here listening in, whether it's over on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, you are not alone. It sucks. All right? So I'm a young guy and my girlfriend of 1 year cheated on me and says she will go to therapy. Should I trust her? Well, in all honesty, you shouldn't. If you're wanting the God's honest truth, here's what you should do. A few things. One, first of all, get the book, Cheating Sucks. Get that book, read the fucking book. Trust me, it's going to walk you through exactly what you should do. Cheating Sucks. It's on my website, badasscounseling.com. Then here's the second thing you should do. You should declare limbo. I always tell people, if you have been cheated on, the fucking dumbest thing you should do is make a decision soon on whether or not to go back into the relationship or get out of the relationship. Because the truth is, you don't know what you want, and that is reflected in your question. Should I trust her? In other words, you don't know what you want yet. You don't know if you can trust her. You still obviously love her. You wouldn't be thinking about trusting her unless you obviously love her and miss her and all those things, which is totally normal, all right? But you don't know what you want yet. You should declare a limbo. You should put a freeze on it, on any decision-making for you, okay? Why? Because you are disoriented, disempowered, and destabilized right now. and you put a freeze on it, she doesn't get to talk you back into anything, no matter how much you fucking want it. And the truth is, you need to heal. You actually need to either be in therapy or you need to be reading that book, Cheating Sucks, or fucking both. But Cheating Sucks is a hell of a lot cheaper than the thousands you'll spend on fucking therapy, all right? But you need to be healing you. You want to know why? Because you're so fucking spun around inside, you don't know your ass from your elbow. I'm fucking serious on this, okay? And the bottom line is you should be in no rush to make a decision because now she has to begin the process of winning your trust back. But when you trust someone for a year and then they go off and fuck around, she just blew all the trust out of the water. And you should not. You would, and I love you, kid, but you would be fucking stupid to trust her fully anytime soon. Trust now has to be won in little bits. And she may get frustrated and walk away, and you've got to be willing to let her walk away because you're going to meet, trust me, you're going to have plenty of wonderful women in your life, okay? If it's not this one. And I know you probably really love her, but the bottom line is, if you give your trust back too soon, then it's too easy. And furthermore, if you give your trust back too soon, she will likely stop healing at the level, at the moment you give her trust back. She'll say, okay, this is enough. I don't have to do any more therapy. This is good enough. So you should be in no rush to trust her. So the question isn't, she says she will go to therapy. Should I trust her? Let her prove that over time. But you need to start healing yourself. Cheating Sucks is the book. Get it, my friend, at badasscounseling.com. Okay, next question. Yuki131 or Yuck131 says on Instagram, how do I distinguish real needs from insecurities asking for reassurance? You don't mention, Yuki, if it's you trying to distinguish your real needs from insecurities or if it's someone else's real needs from insecurities. If it's someone else, if it's your partner, if they're expressing it, like with my partner, I just sort of take them at face value. And I trust my partner. Okay, now if it's yourself, how do I know if it's a real need and distinguish it from insecurities and seeking reassurance? One thing, insecurity is fundamentally driven by what? Fear. So ask yourself the question, in this thing that you think you need from another person or from a situation, I need you to call me regularly. Okay, is that a real need or is it an insecurity? Ask yourself this question. I always tell people this, if you're ever trying to figure out why someone is doing something that doesn't make sense or that you're trying to figure out, always ask the question, what is the primary fear driving the behavior? Speculate the answers and go with the biggest, hairiest, scariest one. So in this case, ask yourself the question, Yuki, what is the fear driving the behavior? And if you need this thing, let's just say you need something from a lover. I need you to call me regularly. What's the fear? Well, you got to dig down and really fucking look at yourself now here. Well, the fear is that if he's not calling me regularly, it may mean he's cheating on me. Well, that's a fucking insecurity. Or if he's not calling, or if my girlfriend isn't calling me regularly, it means, she doesn't love me. Or she might be cheating on me. She doesn't love me. Well, that's massive insecurity. If you need someone to constantly reassure you that they love you, like regularly, okay, that's like serious fucking insecurity. Okay? Versus, I need you to call me regularly throughout the day today. Why? Well, because your brother is coming into the airport and we need to fucking check in so that we're sure to pick him up on time because his flight might be delayed. No fear. The fear there isn't an insecurity. It's just a fear your brother will be stuck at the fucking airport at the fucking bar for 2 hours, which, he likes to drink, so he may like it at the bar, but I want to get him back home. I haven't seen my brother in, fucking 9 months. You see what I'm getting at here? Is there a fear driving this? And is the fear somehow related to my fears about my own sense of worth, generally speaking? That's how you distinguish real needs from insecurities. All right, next question. That was actually a great question. I like that one. We haven't gotten that one in a while. All right, Mark Aponte asks the question, how do I learn to trust people again after being discarded by someone I thought was my friend? I'm beating myself up in my journaling. I used to believe the best in everyone I meet, but now I'm so closed. What's fascinating about that is, how do I learn to trust people again? So your initial question, Mark, is that I'm having difficulty trusting other people. But then your next sentence is, I'm beating myself up. Almost as if you're blaming yourself for trusting them. right? Mark, there's no crime in trusting another human being. So you got stung. You were a victim of someone hurting you. All right? There are victims in this world. Everyone says, don't victim mentality. No, there are victims. There are people who take advantage of other people, and you got taken advantage of. You got discarded by someone. Someone was an asshole to you. You're not at fault. Why? Don't beat yourself up, Mark. You're a good guy. Someone was a dickhead to you, and that's not okay. So to answer your initial question, how do I learn to trust people again after being discarded? By getting out the very voices that are attacking you. What you should be journaling about is, I feel like crap, I feel like that, but that's not true. And I am a good person. And where is the source of this self-loathing coming from? Because the truth is, Mark, that situation of beating up on yourself for someone else discarding you, the origin of that voice goes back way before that friend. That inclination in you, Mark, to turn on yourself, to turn it into self-loathing, that's coming from something that long preceded this friend. Somewhere you were conditioned to turn on yourself, and you've got to find the origin of that voice, Mark. And if you have not already, you need to be reading the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, because that's going to help you drill down to find the origin of that fucking voice, dude. Because you didn't do anything wrong. Someone was a fucking asshole to you. All right? And so what we get out, when part of what's keeping you closed in that fear of trusting is fear. It's fear of getting hurt again. And so you've got to go into your fear and exploring, where is it coming from and how much does it hurt and what am I so afraid of? And also, what would happen if I got hurt again? Because the truth is, there's likelihoods in life that when we trust, we're going to get hurt again. Would life end? See, where we're trying to get with regard to fear and trust is, will I be okay? If I get hurt again, will I be okay? Will I be okay? And the more we learn how to heal ourselves by doing this work, the more we come to the realization, even if the worst happens, yes, it will hurt. Yes, I'll have to do the work of healing, but I'll be okay. One of my nephews is in his 40s, my girlfriend's nephew, and just a wonderful man. During COVID, he got stage 4 cancer and faced death. And it's been somewhat terminal, and then it isn't, and then it is, and it's a mess. And basically, he realized, in his own words, he realized that even if I die, I'll be okay. And he had sort of a religious conversion, but he also really reconciled with his sons. And his relationship with his wife was even better than it ever was, and they are savoring life. And he said, in a way, it was a gift. It made me realize that I am okay, and no matter what happens, I will be okay. And that's in the face of stage 4 cancer. And so the more we learn to do this healing work, the more we realize that no matter what happens, even if I get my heart broken again, I'll be okay. That is the grand beauty of doing this deep healing work, especially healing that deepest and hardest and scariest childhood shit. Again, that's why I wrote the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. All right, next question. Marty Westerland asks a great question here. Marty asks a question, also on Instagram. How can I be vulnerable as a man? That's scary to me, but I've been holding on to childhood trauma and it's hard. Okay, in all honesty, Marty, first of all, great fucking question, especially as a guy. I'm Gen X and Rob's a little older generation. You're Vietnam, right, Rob?
Boomer.
Yeah, boomer, Vietnam. You know how we were raised. It's just like, you be tough and all that shit. I wasn't quite raised that way, but most, our generations were. And so it's not so much about trying to be vulnerable as it is the second piece of what you said. You said that's scary to me, but I've been holding on to childhood trauma and it's hard. It's not trying, it's like trying to get happy. You don't try to get happy. What you do is you get out all the crud that's blocking you, all the negative crud that's blocking you from being happy. So in the case of being vulnerable, you don't try to be vulnerable. You get out all the trauma and all the pain and all the BS and the bullshit beliefs you were taught to believe about yourself. You get out the crud, and then that vulnerability will come naturally. So what that means, it means having the courage to go into that very childhood trauma and begin the work of healing that. Which again, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, you guys, but Marty, that's why I wrote the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's become an international bestseller precisely for this purpose. Bestseller, it was number 2 for 62 weeks 64 weeks on the inner child bestseller list of Amazon for healing your inner child, specifically for that. You can get it at the website. There's a badasscounseling.com. And then what it leads to, the more you get out the pain, the fears, the bullshit beliefs you've been taught to believe about yourself, what happens is, in the words, one of the all-time greatest phrases ever said by one of my clients, she came back to me about 3 months later for sort of a Sven injection, and so to speak, and we met on Zoom, and she runs a business and so on and so forth. Rob, you dirty-minded motherfucker. And she...
Can't help it.
And yeah, I bet. And... we're getting on our Zoom call, and she runs a very successful business and all this. And she said, with the one phrase, she said, Sven, you know what the biggest result is of our work together? And I said, your work. You've been doing all the work. I'm just the guy who asked the question. She says, the biggest result, Sven, is that I'm more vulnerable, but I feel less vulnerable. Baby, that's the goal. To begin to be more vulnerable, to just be who I am, to put myself out there, but to not be afraid of doing so anymore. And Marty, that's going to happen. Get the book. There's a hole in my love cup. Trust me, you do the work, it will happen. Brianna Lee Lynn says, Sven, I just want to say you are an amazing man. I'm so grateful for all your video and podcasts. You are the GOAT, badass. Nah, you're very gracious. I may smell like a goat. I have about 4 older brothers and 1 older sister who would definitely agree to that. All right. By today's standards, do you think a therapist is better or a coach? This is over here on Instagram. I'm going to be very, very honest with you here, folks. Very, very honest. This is a great question. By today's standards, do you think a therapist is better or a coach? For me, personally, I will take a therapist 100 times out of 100 before I would take a coach. And there are a lot of great coaches out there, don't get me wrong. But I will take someone who is trained in interpersonal communications, who is trained in psychological, and even some have some measure of spiritual theory and so forth. I'll take a trained psychologist or therapist or marriage and family therapist or social worker any day of the week. Coaches are there to fundamentally optimize performance. Okay? A lot of great coaches out there, don't get me wrong. I actually mentor coaches. I have psychologists who are clients. I have psychiatrists who are clients. And I'll take one of those any day. All right. However, I'm going to throw this one caveat on there. I'm going to throw this. And those of you that follow me regularly, those of you who have read my books, those of you who catch my videos on social, you know this. I got myself out of a 12-year depression, the kind where you want to end yourself. The word you can't say on social media, all right? Where you want to end yourself, that kind. I got myself out of a 12-year depression, that kind. I couldn't find a therapist who could help me, couldn't find a coach, no one. I had to get my own way out. I read close to 1,000 books across multiple genres and multiple theories and everything, and I created my own way out. I healed myself, and it became the Badass Counseling Method. As a result of getting my own way out, what I realized is, and I am an absolute believer in this, you can heal yourself. I am an absolute believer in self-help. I really believe that. If you want to augment that with therapy or with a coach, great. But if you have the right tools, not just the best tools, but the right tools, specifically designed to help you heal by getting out all your past crud, you can actually heal very, very quickly, but it requires the brass balls, the courage to go deep. And this precisely, if you're dealing with cheating, that's why I wrote my book, Cheating Sucks, to take you deep into your shit and heal you quickly. If you're dealing with childhood trauma, if you are dealing with life's deepest shit, get the book. There's a hole in my love cup, because I honestly believe you can heal yourself, and not just heal yourself, but then you are ready for life's future shit. You will become an infinitely better parent. Your relationships, your love relationships will become deeper, fuller, richer, and you just become a lighter, happier person. You become more alive. So in the question of, do you think a therapist is better or a coach? Personally, therapist. But some people prefer a coach, that's fine. But in all honesty, a lot of the work, most of the work you can do on your own if you have the right tools. And some person here says books are not enough. No, the books aren't enough. Your willingness to do the badass work is what it fucking takes. Just reading a fucking book won't do it, which is why my books include deep and heavy journaling and so forth. It requires the badass work to go into it. Reading a fucking book is, you might as well jerk yourself off. No, you have to go into it. All right. We have come to the end of our time. All right. And Rob.
I think our listeners always appreciate getting an injection of Sven.
You're a jolly joker. You're a jolly joker.
I was in Amsterdam a few weeks ago on a vacation, and there was a bar called the Jolly Joker. I should have taken a picture of myself there.
No kidding. The jolly joker.
I thought of you.
All right.
That's what you call me.
Well, and the thing is, I got it from Dave Hughes. Dave Hughes, I don't know where Dave Hughes, he was one of my two best friends on the block growing up. He always said, Jolly Joker. I think he must have gotten it from a TV show or something. But so now you are my Jolly Joker.
Why, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Well, folks, these were some really great questions that you sent in today, and I'm so glad for all of the questions that you send this way. It's really fantastic. It is really fantastic, and you guys don't understand. I get about 1,000 comments, 1,000 direct messages, voice messages, texts, emails from people around the world every week. People wanting help. People wondering about this or that, and so many say that, oh man, this person asked this question on the show and it really helped me, or this person, that you counseled, our Thursday episodes, our counseling episodes, people writing in, oh man, that person's problems were exactly what I'm dealing with. So when you people ask these questions, it helps not just you, but it helps other people who are listening. So I want to thank you for the questions. So the books are, the first one, the one that just came out 2 months ago, is Cheating Sucks. I actually don't have it in front of me. If you are the victim of cheating and suffering from cheating, you need to get this book. It is a top seller already. It is called Cheating Sucks: When the Bomb Hits and Your Life Explodes. And it's a book that has never been written. It was written by an author, me, who has not only 30 years counseling experience, specializing in the field of cheating, among other things, but especially cheating, who I was cheated on in 2 long-term adult relationships. I cheated on my first wife way back in my 20s, and I was the co-cheater, the person who someone was cheating with on their own spouse more than once. So I am the only person who has ever written a book based on 30 years counseling experience and having experienced every side of the cheating triangle personally. It's an in-depth book. It's upside down. It will revolutionize how you look at and how you heal from cheating. My best-selling book is There's a Hole in My Love Cup. This is to heal childhood trauma and teach you how to begin to heal yourself. All right? And if you are stuck, if you are lacking motivation, if you are in depression, full of anxiety, if life is sitting its fat ass right on your fucking head and you can't breathe, get the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. That is available on my website, badasscounseling.com. It is available as audiobook, ebook, and paperback. And then the follow-up to that, this is a 366-day daily meditational. This is Badass Wisdom. Badass Wisdom, and I'm actually working on the sequel to that. It's part of a trilogy. The sequel is Badass Love. That will be out for the Christmas season. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. It's been great having you here with all your questions. I want to thank especially my staff, KC over in the booth, silent as usual, and Rob the Rocket next to me. Rob, you get the final word, Daddy-O.
Rock it out. I'm good.
We are good, folks. Thank you for yet another great Badass Counseling show. We do this work because we believe healing shouldn't take a long time. Dive into your shit, slay your demons, and have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.